Is the cup half empty or is the cup half full? And does it really matter? Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski. Welcome to this week's MovNat Health and Lifestyle Tip, which is to think and talk right. We know that optimists live longer. We also know that they have decreased risk of premature death, which seems to say the same thing. And we know they have a greater probability of surviving serious illness like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. But why? The greatest stress researcher of all time is Dr. Hans Selye. He spent nearly his entire adult life studying stress. One of the first things he found out is when animals are under a stress circumstance, their immune system shuts down. The very first cell to shut down is called a natural killer cell. That's a cell that kills cancer cells and viral infected cells. And even though patients have been saying this for decades, doctors and researchers are now beginning to realize that stress may be one of the greatest contributing causes of cancer, along with toxins in our environment. So as we become distressed, our body shifts to a fight or flight mode. The organ systems that suffer most are the liver, the kidneys, and the brain. The liver and kidneys are critical to clear toxins from the system, along with balancing the acid-alkaline function, and the brain is critical for high-level thoughts. So what's the difference between something which is stressful and not stressful? The answer is how we perceive it. Stress is perceived and analyzed first in a section of the brain called the amygdala. If you perceive the circumstance as no big deal, then it really is no big deal. So think about being stuck in traffic. Is that a big deal? Probably not. Probably not life-threatening. But if you get distressed by it, you can trigger a life-threatening reaction known as fight or flight. You'll shut off higher-level thought processes. You'll detoxify less effectively. Your digestion will be disturbed. And the list goes on and on. There's universal agreement that 50 to 75% of all depression is stress-induced. And recent studies out of the UK now show that stress-related illness is the #1 cause of lost work time. So what about part 2? Talk right. We are made of over 100 trillion cells. Each of these cells has the potential to communicate with every other cell at every point of its existence. Most of us are familiar with broadcast messages known as endocrine signals or hormone signals. This is a major message that's received by most of the cells of the body. But we also have paracrine communication, which is cells communicating with their neighbor, and autocrine communication, which is cells communicating with themselves. We now know that one of the first breakdowns in the cancer process is altered cell-to-cell communication. For cells to talk to one another, the body has to have the right pH balance, it has to have the right oxidation reduction potential, and the cell membrane must be made of the right molecules, including the right ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats. Sadly, all three of these factors are severely disturbed in the majority of our population. So just as all relationships require good communication, the relationships our cells have with their neighbors and with themselves require good communication. And as that communication breaks down, so does the health of the individual. We'll talk more about this concept in future blogs. I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, wishing you health, happiness, and success always.